Welcome to the local campaign, and thank you for joining us for this debate for Ward 12, Rideau-Vanier. We're going to introduce the candidates to you in just a moment. Let me quickly explain how this debate is going to work. Each candidate who is here will have 1 minute to provide an opening statement. We drew the order for those opening statements just before our telecast. That was done at random. Then we'll move into a series of debates about the important topics in Rideau-Vanier and throughout the city of Ottawa. In each case, I will start the debate by directing a question to one of the candidates. That candidate will have 45 seconds to answer that question. Then we'll open it up to several minutes of debate on that particular topic. To wrap up, we'll go back to the candidate to whom that question was addressed, and that candidate will have 30 seconds to wrap up on the topic. Each candidate will get at least one question. We'll move through a number of different topics that way, and then we'll wrap up with closing statements, again 1 minute in length and in the reverse order of the opening statements. So let's introduce the candidates who are here for the debate for Rideau-Vanier. They are Mathieu Fleury, Matt Lowe, and Thierry Harris. There is one other candidate who is running in Rideau-Vanier in the election on October the 22nd, Salar Changes, who is not able to join us for the debate. So let's get started with the opening statements, and we'll begin with Mathieu Fleury. You have 1 minute.
I'd like to recognize we are on traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin people. It has been a pleasure for me to represent Lower Town, Sandy Hill, and Vanier over the last 8 years. I'm looking forward to continue to make our community welcoming, safe, vibrant, and connected for all. Here are some of the projects I've led and accomplished. The Ottawa Art Gallery, a world-class facility for our local arts community in Sandy Hill. In Vanier, redoing one of our 10 parks. Up Smiths, which has really brought the community together. In Lower Town, the George Street Plaza, a showcase pilot project to highlight the opportunity of the public spaces in the Byron Market. And we've connected Sandy Hill and Vanier with the Rideau-Vanier Bridge. Looking forward to the next term, our big priorities are housing and homelessness, lead, coordinate, and innovate. The truck tunnel, the next step, an environmental assessment. Montreal Road, infrastructure improvement, and a community improvement plan to encourage business mix. And finally, Byron Market, investing in the infrastructure to beautify our Byron Market.
All right, thank you. Next up is Matt Lowe. Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Lowe. I'm a Kentucky Canadian, an immigrant, a dual citizen, and I'm running for Ward 12 Rideau-Vanier Community Councillor. I'm a citizen of Vanier. I'm a victim of crime. I love my neighborhood. I love my area, and I'm running to make Vanier great again. I'm here to develop Vanier into the true French Quarter in the spirit of Chinatown and Little Italy. I'm here to be proactive on business development, proactive on community development, hard on crime, tough on these people that make our neighborhood a terrible place to live and run the name of our good neighborhood. We live in a great place. Not a diamond in the rough, but a diamond that just needs the dust took off. We need to get rid of the Salvation Army plans, develop Montreal Road, kick out the crime, and make this into the true great place it can be. We might not make it to the glebe, but with the right community leadership, we can make it into a Westboro-friendly type neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Finally, the opening statement from Thierry Harris. Go ahead.
My name is Thierry Harris, and here's why I'm running. Our ward is the beating heart of our nation's capital. But for the last 8 years, we have brought us to a low point. Our crime rate is 3.5 times higher than the rest of the city. Our communities are suffering, our local businesses are suffering, and we're not leading on issues like environmental sustainability. While we're busy building luxury condos, we're facing one of the worst homelessness crises ever. The councillor thinks we're on the right track. He'll tell you, let's just keep doing what we're doing. I think we deserve better. We deserve to feel safe. We deserve a city that's compassionate and accessible for all its residents. We deserve a politician who fights for the community and who gets us some wins at City Hall. I will take action. I will be responsible. And when you have a problem, it will become my problem. So the choice is ours. Are we going to double down on the approach that got us here, or are we going to vote for change and a new vision? I look forward to this debate.
All right, thank you to all the candidates for your opening statements. I'm going to direct a question now to Mathieu Fleury. He will have 45 seconds to answer the question, then we'll open it up to debate. We just learned today, on the day that we are recording this debate, that Phase 1 of light rail is facing further delays and will not be delivered on time. Should City Council have handled and managed this project differently? And what can be done to improve oversight and accountability and transparency for Phase 2 and Phase 3?
Thank you, Mark, for the question. The LRT is the backbone of our transit system. We have 3 stations in our community: Rideau, U-Ottawa, and Lees. They're very, very important for our residents. They're very important for transit is very important for all of us. What we heard today is disappointing. When we see further delays to the light rail, which was supposed to open this fall, it means that there's issues in the construction. We want to ensure that when it opens, it's safe. We also want to make sure that RTG is accountable for that, and there's financial penalties, $1 million. Also, all the costs relating to our operation of the OC Transpo during the period of the delay. So hopefully it opens in the new year. Until then, we'll ensure that our detour routes are appropriately in place.
Okay, it's open to everyone now on this topic. Go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to point out that we didn't have a councillor who advocated for an LRT station in the area where they have a lot of public transit use, which is Vanier. We should have had this as part of the Phase 1 of the LRT. We're not having it as part of the Phase 2 LRT. And frankly, if we were to put another station in Quebec, it would be a lot better in terms of deviating the traffic. So the LRT system is a mess. It's not servicing the people in our community. And now that the city has extended the delay, we've just been told that our public transit bus systems have been changed. What are we going to do for the people who are out there taking the 12 and who are not being able to get from point A to point B?
Mark,
so I'm going to make priority
just on the important
public
piece
transportation
here.
service.
The opponent is saying that we could have done LRT along Montreal Road. It's because he wasn't in Ottawa when we discussed those issues for the first phase. There's a lot of communities that won't directly benefit from light rail. Vanier is one of them. There's also the Glebe. There's also other communities near Merivale Road. Those are our inner urban main streets, and we do need to improve transit along those communities. But you have to understand at the core, what is the goal of the LRT, of the metro system, of rapid transit? And the idea is really the hub and spoke model. So we have good transit in communities, which we need to continue to improve. We bring transit users to the hub, so the stations, and then we can travel across the line a lot faster. So we did fight for services. We do have 3 stations in our community, and obviously there needs to be continued improvement to our local transit route, including the 12. We've added a new bus, the new 20, in Vanier. There's the 17 along Beechwood. So we're continuing to make efforts to improve our transit system. Not only waiting for the opening of light rail, as you know, there are delays, but every day we work on efficiencies and ways that we can try to improve transit riders' experience for each community.
That's good and done, but right now the transit's terrible. The 12 bus is overcrowded. You know, where's this new bus? Is it helping people? I watched today a bus passed by people overcrowded. Sure, we would have benefited from a light rail, but we're talking about the construction delays now. Shoddy construction. I keep thinking about this little bridge over top of the road going to the airport. It was a $1 million bridge to nowhere, they said. They got construction and the concrete fixed. How much bad concrete is under those rails that's yet to be found? We don't know. We probably won't know the train starts running, but it's delays. Every time it delays, it costs us money, and it forces people to get out of the bimodal system of transportation, take other things, and force them to take their cars, cabs, Ubers, and everything that pollute the environment instead of concentrating on public transportation. And God forbid when we get the Salvation Army and they're having the transportation fixed, that's going to triple down on the amount of transportation needs in our community. It's just wrong. It's wrong every way, way around it. We've got to fix the construction. We've got to get them on budget. We've got to get them on track. We've got to hold City Hall accountable for any oversights that might happen because of this.
I'd just like to jump in here and say that the fact that I wasn't in Ottawa or not makes no difference. I am in Ottawa right now, and I'll be your advocate to get better public transportation. Our current councillor has been very weak on this issue. Our ward is lagging behind, and we need to hold our elected officials accountable if we're to get anywhere with public transit.
Okay, Mathieu Fleury, you get the last 30 seconds here.
I can't wait for our LRT to open. It is unfortunate to see delays. We're fortunate to have 3 stations in our community: Rideau, U-Ottawa, and Lees. We'll continue to improve our inner urban routes. Obviously, the focus has been on light rail the last few years, but now we need to really bring in the focus as how do we make transit in our community a lifestyle? And that's super important for all of us who live in the urban core. We want to, when I see that we have opportunity, when folks want to go to work in the morning and the bus is still not there, we need to improve that. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for Matt Lowe. As has already been raised, one of the biggest issues affecting your ward in the past 4 years was the planned Salvation Army shelter on Montreal Road. What do you feel the city should have done differently with the process, and what would you do differently if a similar opportunity or presentation or proposal came forward in the next 4 years?
That's a big question, sir. What would I have done? Number one, day one, Ward 1, I would have alerted the community. Day one, Ward 1, we should have knew about this. Now, what can we do once it's here? Not much now, except take it to the legal venue and depend on SOS Vanier and these people to help us with that. But as a city councilman, I plan to enact special purpose bylaws to try to block this. The same way that bunkhouses got stopped in Sandy Hill by special purpose bylaws and councilor interference, I think we can do the same thing with Salvation Army. And also, we got the last option of, you know what? Ottawa needs us more than we need Ottawa. Why don't Vanier go back to its own village and let's just make our own bylaws and be done with this whole mess at all? Let the change of leadership go back to the Vanier City Hall, Ottawa Vanier.
Okay, it's open to everyone now on this topic.
Well, Mark, so it is a tragic file, and I don't agree with Matt. It will not happen. We are heading into court. Nothing can happen until the court is reviewed. We're waiting for the OMB date, which will be in 2019. We do have a game plan, so not only are we fundraising and ensuring that we win that appeal, but also we're working, as you know, the federal government has a national housing policy. We're ensuring that the values that were highlighted from our community in terms of that proposal are changed at the national level so that we ensure equality, that we ensure gender equality, that we ensure also that anyone that follows any religion can access the services, and that we follow our priorities, which are families, women, and that also, and from a provincial standpoint, as you know, the LIN, the Local Health Integration Networks, funds addictions. We want to know where they are because there's part of that project that would require to come back to council to see if there are operational dollars. So we are fighting the zoning right now to the Ontario Municipal Board. I am confident that we can win. We tried to stop the Salvation Army from submitting. As you know, the day they submitted, I came out vigorously against the project. We brought together 10 working groups of the community. We brought the largest contingency of residents in front of committee and council for those debates. We did lose, but now we're heading to court. We won in court when the provincial governments failed us on Montfort Hospital, and we'll win this one in appealing
Well, when
the
this is
Salvation
about
Army.
residents, this is reactive leadership, not proactive. Reactive leadership. You told us when was day one, when was Ward 1 of the Salvation Army that we had a chance to stop this. Not when you first heard about it, but when the first word come off somebody's lips that you make an announcement, the community go, oh my God, guess what's coming? A 350-bed terror shelter.
Excuse me, I would just like to ask the councillor, he knowingly knew about this project. When did you actually know, Mathieu Fleury, when the Salvation Army was going to come to Montreal Road? When did you know? We are not getting these answers to these questions. Can you answer that?
So the Salvation Army, we've been working, we knew in 2012 that the Salvation Army wanted to build a purpose-built shelter. We didn't know the location, we didn't know the model. Ever since then, we were trying to work operationally. As you know, there's major issues on George Street relating to safety of clients, safety of staff, and safety for the community. So we've been focused on that, seeing some minor improvements. And at some point, the Salvation Army said, we will build a purpose-built shelter. At that time, they began their search. We tried to bring them to the table. And then years later, they landed their project. We never trusted that the Salvation Army was going to go ahead. And unfortunately, when they chose to go ahead, they got support from the mayor, they got support from the chair of committee. And that's where we needed to get organized. And we were organized. It was a surprise that an organization that's supposed to be community-minded would choose to proceed without engaging the community and without reconsidering the approach when we know that the approach of housing first, and we have 9 projects for supportive housing work.
Very quickly.
So just they engaged with you way before, and as a councillor, you need to be accountable to the people. If anything would have happened like this on my desk, I would have let people know from day one. If you're saying it's 2012 and that you're surprised that this came down a pike, I am afraid for the folks who are going to be there and have you as their representative.
Lowe, you have the final 30 seconds on this.
Listen, guys, I may come out hard on this, but the fact is these people do need help. They do need housing. They do need understanding. But when we put people who are addicted against people who are being rehabilitated, there's no hope for the people wanting out of this. I admit that these guys need help, but more like a 90-bed model in different areas of the city. Let's spread them out, not clump them up. I'm for giving these people houses and understanding and attention and help. Let's just do it in a way that doesn't impact Vanier so much is all I'm asking.
Okay, thank you. Next question is for Thierry Harris, and another related issue, another issue that's affected Rideau-Vanier, obviously, was the debate over supervised injection facilities. Should the City of Ottawa initiate more of these sites, and what else can be done to address this public health issue? You have 45 seconds.
So the question is, should we initiate more injection sites? I would say, yes, I would fund them. Because what is the alternative? These people who have down on their luck and who are suffering and who are in pain could be your daughter, or they could be your mother, or they could be your brother. And the absolute best thing to do is to give these people a chance to live. We had a very difficult year last year where the councillor dropped the ball. He wouldn't even go and see the nurses who were doing that unsupervised injection site. That is a shameful thing for somebody who calls himself a leader to actually not even show up. The people who are adjacent to those properties, however, also need to be protected. They need to be consulted. And if I was a councillor, I would bring both of those folks together and we would come up with a solution that is best for everybody.
It's open to everyone now
on
this
We
topic.
did bring folks together. Within 21 days of the pop-up site at the site, Ottawa Public Health opened the supervised injection sites 2 blocks away. That's leadership. That demonstrates a response that doesn't play political games and going into a park and scrambling with the issue. It's really focusing on addressing what the challenge is. That's overdose. That's injection drug use. And I want to go back to the core question, Mark, which is, should we see an increase in supervised injection sites? We have to go back to the intent of Ottawa Public Health Board. I'm on the Ottawa Public Health Board. It is approved by the federal government, those sites are, and funded by the province. And the intent was that we were going to see a supervised injection site in every health center across our city. You're a drug user in Orleans, you can use at your health center in Orleans. Unfortunately, you've seen the change in provincial government, which is putting a freeze on the supervised injection services. I don't agree with my opponent who says we should fund them. This is a provincial responsibility.
I think we shouldn't fund them.
Healthcare is a provincial responsibility. I certainly see the importance of them being in all of our community health centers across the city, and I encourage the provincial government to continue to look at options and to be transparent about treatment. Right now, the LHIN is not transparent. We don't know how folks go in for supervised injection and get the services.
Well, here's the thing about this. I'm not for these things. I'm telling you why. It just encourages drugs. At first, they called them safe injection sites, and that was and then they changed it. I think originally they changed it to supervised injection sites. I may be wrong on that, but the fact is, we don't need them. Okay, the fact that the needle hunters pick up thousands of needles a year, commend these little guys, by the way. They do an excellent job. I see them every morning going through parks and just garbage, and they just do a tremendous. They should be on dirty jobs. They do a really good job. But the fact that they're picking up thousands of needles every year shows that people are using outside of these injection sites and off hours. Now, we got to find a solution to this. Now, I don't believe in funding these, but I believe in maybe perhaps supplying the needles and the naloxone, but to provide them a vehicle to comfortably do their drugs in, just to me encourages drug use.
So I think that this is another half-baked, pardon the expression, solution that's coming from the city. The councillor, once again, won't take responsibility for the activities that happen in his ward. If it's the province that's funding him, if it's the city that's funding him, the point is that there's people that are dying on the streets, and these people have to be helped and supported. But we need to have, hold on a second, we need to have a holistic solution. We do not provide that whatsoever with the city. Everybody works in their silos. Everybody pats themselves on the back and say, bravo,
okay.
I went to a place for 21 days. The 3 other urban councillors did come to that place.
Right.
The 3 other urban councillors were there.
You're going to get the last 30 seconds on this, so
Fleury.
I just want to give 10 seconds to anybody else who wants to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. There aren't only 3 other urban councillors. We're 5 for the count. Just so that everyone knows, we work very closely to ensure that folks on the street are safe, that they're appropriately housed,
Okay.
and that the services are in place.
All
And
right.
it's important that Ottawa Public Health act.
Final 30 seconds, Thierry Harris.
So again, if there's 3, if there's 5, the point is that the councillor in the ward where this happened didn't show up. And this is one of the main reasons why I decided to run. Because when I saw the lack of leadership at the Lower Town Community Association meeting, where 80 angry residents showed up and that plummeted one of the nurses who was trying to help those people there, and somebody raised their hand and said, "Who's in charge?" And nobody raised their hand. Not the police, not the councillor, not anybody else. So what I'm saying is that I will take responsibility for this. I will bring the players together much better than what was ever done before.
That's time. Thank you. Next question for Mathieu Fleury. An advocacy organization in Sandy Hill is asking for heritage protection to stop some buildings from being transformed into rooming houses for students. What needs to be done about this issue, and more broadly, how else should we be approaching affordable housing, particularly housing in general, but particularly affordable housing?
Thanks for the question, Mark. We've worked diligently over the last 8 years. There's been a zoning report for the last 8 years dedicated to Sandy Hill, specifically on the student accommodation issue, bunkhouses. It started with the conversion. We got infill 1, infill 2, the R4. We have now the new heritage conservation districts, 2 new ones that were recently added into Sandy Hill. We've worked diligently to freeze the university population, to see an increase of residences built by the university. And we'll continue to support programs like the U-Pass so that students have an opportunity to live across the city. The Rideau-Vanier Bridge is another good example of those measures, and it's important to act on the zoning so that we have a diversity of...
now on this topic?
Just so that we have so that we have a diversity of accommodations available for families, for seniors, and also for students.
So I would just like to say that this is a perfect example, once again, of the complete lack of vision and leadership from the current councillor right now. Okay, the people in Sandy Hill are fed up. They have greedy developers that are gutting historic houses, that are taking them out and that are putting in rooms that are for students that are there, and there's trash and there's noise, and the people feel left behind. They feel like they're not being listened to, and that the city won't even enforce the rules that are in place to maintain a historic character to this very, very special neighborhood in the heart of the nation's capital. So what I would do is I would be proactive. I would work better with the university. I didn't graduate from the University of Ottawa, but I certainly know how to cultivate university leaders that can come up and that can help manage the noise issue. I certainly know how to bring stakeholders together that can talk about what the benefits are of long-term green sustainable housing that will enrich the character of this neighborhood. We want to bring young professionals to Sandy Hill. We want to bring families to Sandy Hill, and this is not what we're doing right now. We've been passing the puck around for 8 years, and nothing has been done. Nothing has been done.
We shouldn't destroy heritage,
I
period,
chair
anyway.
I chair the Town and Gown Committee, which is a committee that we've formed that brings the university, the city, students and residents together to tackle those issues. We have proactive measures. Tomorrow, we're in the community, we're knocking on 225 doors of addresses who've had garbage and noise complaints over the last year, and that's peer-to-peer. We bring students together to knock, explain when the garbage day is, explain some of the quality measures that we want in the community. It's shown its success. We've seen a drop in the amount of noises. We also brought in dedicated bylaw changes to our community relating to solid waste. No bins can be visible from the street except the green bin, and it's complaints-based. So as complaints come in, we go from property to property and it's addressed.
It's still about heritage, though, and I'm not for the destruction of heritage houses. I worked in the security business a while, and I know even making minor changes to heritage properties can be a lot of paperwork and headache. But leave the heritage houses alone. We can work on better ways, like he said, work with the college and the deans and the students to get better housing. That's one thing, but we just not gut out these houses. They're, like Thierry said, they're a part of our community. They're part of the heritage. Just leave them be. There's other solutions than gutting out historical landmarks across Ottawa. And that's my opinion on that one.
It's just, again, another committee approach, another proactive measure, but it doesn't work. We need to be accountable, and we need to have measures of success. And if we're not measuring how we're doing, and if we're not seeing the improvements, we're now losing local businesses in Sandy Hill because they don't want to be there anymore because of the type of people that are coming in. And it's just not fair to the local residents who have invested there, the people who have been there for years. All they're asking for is for the city to listen to them, to apply the zoning rules, to not keep going to the broken planning committee and again and again, approving these spot zones.
That's time. Mathieu Fleury, I asked you the question. You got the last 30 seconds.
So we've stopped bunkhouses. We've used the ultimate tool in planning called the interim control bylaw. We've used that twice in Sandy Hill over the last 8 years. That's the legislated limit that we can enforce, that we can put in place. Now with the new regulations, a maximum of 4 units can have a maximum of 4 bedrooms. And there are heritage properties that are designated. We have 5 existing heritage conservation districts in Sandy Hill, and we've recently added 2, Sweetland to Range, Laurier to Osgood, and east of Charlotte.
All right, thank you. No, that's time, unfortunately. Thank you, though. And we are now going to move to the closing statements. So we're going to do those in the reverse order of the opening statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to speak to you, and we will start with Thierry Harris. Go ahead.
There's a lot at stake in this election, and the choices you make will determine your future. For 8 years, the incumbent has had it his way, and it hasn't worked. It's time for change. My team and I represent the best hope for that change. I'm not a career politician. I'm an entrepreneur who started his own business. I'm also a community activist, and I fought alongside the community with their battles. Over the years, I've seen a lot of hope and promise, but I've also seen too much despair and pain. There are people with real struggles out there, and I want to say to you that you matter. Our ward has been left behind, and we need a new approach that will bring results. We need to not just be there, but to have the courage to change. And I want to thank all the community members, all the members of my team, and all of our supporters to have that courage. Join us. And on October 22nd, vote for me, Thierry Harris, and together we will bring change to City Hall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Matt Lowe. Go ahead. You have 1 minute as well.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time and listening. Like I say, a little bit more about me. I'm a veteran, a businessman also, an organizer, a logistics director. I'm here to take command of this board and the responsibilities of everything within it. I'm tough on crime, I'm tough on the situation, but I'm also very compassionate, understanding that people need housing, people need help. We need to get people into rehab, we need to get people where they belong and not in this place they are now, which is just not good at all. We need to fight slumlords, we need to fight shoddy construction, we need to fight bad leadership. Our current councillor said Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, we've had 8 years minus 2 months to develop Vanier into an economical diamond in the rough. Now listen, guys, we can develop this in the true French Quarter in the spirit of Little Italy in Chinatown. I am here to be proactive. You've heard that word a lot. I'm here to be that. I'll guarantee you, with me in command, things will get done, or I will not run for re-election in 4 years if I have not at least developed Vanier into the French Quarter.
Okay, thank you. Finally, the closing statement from Mathieu Fleury.
Thank you, Mark, for the opportunity to highlight some of our accomplishments for Sandy Hill, Lowertown, and Vanier. Residents, should you honor me again with your support, I look forward to continue working with the amazing people of our community to lead and tackle issues such as 1, housing and homelessness, the need to rethink our city's approach, 2, the truck tunnel, removing interprovincial trucks from downtown streets, impacting our safety, noise, pollution, economic development, 3, Montreal Road, stopping the Salvation Army project, investing in redoing our main street, and supporting new business mix with the community improvement plan, and 4, investing in the infrastructure to beautify the Byron Market. The community has invested in me. I have a strong track record. Let's continue to create a safe place where youth, families, and older adults have the right services and spaces to enjoy all that our community has to offer. I have the experience, and I know the needs of our community best.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates for participating in our debate for Rideau-Vanier ward, and good luck the rest of the way in the campaign. And thank you for watching. I want to remind you that Election Day is October the 22nd. That's when you'll be able to vote. It is also when you will be able to see live results on election night, beginning when the polls close at 8 o'clock, right here on Rogers TV and simulcast on 1310 News Radio. I hope you can join us then. Once again, thanks for watching.